Hey everybody, welcome back to Gun Tote Minnesotan. I'm going to jump right into it. When you first get your VESTA Go tripod, it's carbon fiber from Vanguard. This is the box that it comes in, and it has lots of pertinent information on here. They're kind of like things that you maybe wouldn't know if you just got into tripods or this was your first purchase, things about how the features work. There's just some immediate advertising on there. Some of the extras that come in the bag, like the phone holder, how the twisters work, the fact that it does come in a padded bag. It's just got some of that information on there for you right off the bat, but let's jump into the bag. I'm gonna tell you about the bag actually. I'm actually gonna tell you about a bag. It's amazing. The bag is extra padded, and one of the reasons that that's nice is not just to protect the tripod, it's actually to protect some of your other gear from your tripod. In case this is rattling around and it has some weight to it, this is going to stay in good condition. Yes, this will protect your product. That's absolutely true. But also, if your things are banging around in the backpack, or as it is in my car, it's in the back of my van where I'm throwing in lots of other bags, I might have something that's more delicate, and this is double padded. It's actually quite thick and insulated, I would say, which is going to protect your other products as well as your tripod. So inside, you do have a phone connector here. You can connect a few different devices here. There's an ARCA pad here, or ARCA plate rather, and some hardware and tools, as well as your user manual. And I don't have to use that for this particular review, but there are things there that almost everybody who's going to get a tripod like this is going to be glad they don't have to purchase extra. It's not an additional cost to you. So you have your bag, you have a carry loop on there that is adjustable, and also the clip can detach. Has a plastic D-ring, ultra lightweight, I would say. Everything about this is ultra lightweight, and it has a string draw cord closure. Here's the tripod. This thing is really, really light. I've had some light tripods, and this one is very light, but it's carbon fiber and it's going to be very strong. The components feel pretty high quality. Everything about the legs, the hardware, the function, the angles here felt really good out of the box. I've had it for a while. I've been using it for a while, full disclosure. So again, it's the VESTA GO264cv, and that's the designation they're going to have on it, CV12. Okay, make sure I get it all right. On the bottom, underneath, let's get these out of the way. There we go. On the bottom and underneath, as you can see here, you do have a gear hook. So that gear hook is really great for weighting it down because it's so ultra light. One of the things that I tend to do is when I set it up, the first thing I do is throw my backpack on this hook here. It gives it a good center of gravity on the center post, and then I don't have concerns about this sliding around or being blown over. I was just at a match, and my friend's tripod, which was reasonably weighted down, maybe just a little bit side heavy because of a bag that was laying against it, it tipped over. And I really like the center of gravity post on these options because I attach cameras like the DJI that I'm recording with, sometimes spotting scopes that are thousands of dollars, and I don't want these getting ruined. And so I like having a center of gravity, and I almost always weight it down if it's not sitting right with me, kind of between my legs as I'm spotting. If I'm walking away from it for a second, it's getting weighted down. That's the philosophy I live by. All right, let's talk about some of the features. I'm going to bring you in a little closer. When it comes to tripods, the head matters a lot. And so I want to talk through some of the features here. There's a couple extra dials in case you're not familiar with some of these. I'll loosen this up. What you have right here are teeth. And these teeth are engaging in different positions. And I can move this around right here. This bar is a control bar for the angle. Now I'm going to tighten it back up. So now what I have as I loosen up the access of the head is I actually have a return. Watch this. It's weighted. It's got tension. It's got a spring that can push things back, or pressure rather, that can push things back. And so if I wanted to take certain shots or pan, I can push down on it, and I can lock it in place on the other side here. So there's a lock, and I can keep it with that angle if I wanted to, and I'm spotting with, again, with a spotting scope. That's something that would happen very often. But if I wanted to try to get a smooth pan for a shot with my DJI, I actually can because of the weight of my cameras. None of them are super heavy. I'm not using a big camera like a C100. I'm not using anything like that. I'm using reasonably average, what most people are going to use for cameras, and this can counterbalance and bring things back to level. There's just a little extra smoothness to it. The fluidity is beautiful for taking shots and doing some of that camera work. So that's just an extra. I know that's not going to be everybody's application, and maybe some people are thinking, that's not really the best purpose for it. But you know what? For me, I actually use it that way. And if you want to stow it away and get it out, you're going to loosen up. It's got an eject symbol on that knob. It's going to tell you which direction to turn. And this can move out of the way depending on how you want to stow it. You can tighten it down again. You still have a traditional pan button, or a pan option rather, on the whole of the head. So I loosen up this piece right here and it will pan. This is your bottom-most control. Pans really well. Very, very smooth. If I was going to be panning and taking shots panning, I could probably combine these features a little bit, and I would bring this up, get the teeth to line up where I like it. It's got a really good bite. The machining on that it's pretty tight specs actually. It looks good. And now what I can do is I can pan and float at the same time. Two directions. I can move around smoothly. This is helpful for when you're glassing, which I'm going to show you in a second. This movement right here is a very high quality movement. And this is an affordable tripod compared to many others. If you need something a little more rigid or bigger, you're willing to pay higher dollar, Vanguard does have other tripods that are more expensive than this, and you will pay a little more. The impressive thing about this is how lightweight it is, how affordable it is, and then how smooth the operation is of these mechanisms. I'm really impressed with this one right here. It's a high quality feel. And it has the functions, it has the accessories with that most people are going to need or want to use. So I like that right there, that pan, something I'll actually use. Let's tighten those down, and now I'm going to move around and I'm going to show you the head itself. Okay, I'm actually going to turn it towards you and lock it down while we discuss this right here. You do have a bubble level. You have a position holder or an accessory holder. This detent little button right here is going to keep your accessories in place. That's really nice so things don't just slide right off. And then you have a pretty high quality knurling milled into the dial. And the dial has plenty of range of travel. If you have a non-traditional ARCA head, or you think the specs are just slightly out of spec for ARCA, I don't suspect this would give you any issues. It looks like plenty of range of travel for me, and none of the plates that I have, whether they be Vanguard plates or some of the other non-traditional plates, none of them have given me issue. All of them have been able to tension down, and then I've also been able to secure my items with Vanguard products, which is really cool. Very, very nice. Good texture for the cold, when it's raining out or humid like it is right now. Able to get a good grasp on it, and I think the tension between these two is going to be fully sufficient. Here's how it is retained and held on. I'll loosen that up and it folds right back. Briefly, just because I know some people would rather have it in the video than look it up, I'm going to tell you some of the stats. It's the VOPV12 head. It can break down to 18.3 inches. That's with those inverted legs if you actually properly stow them. It can be as tall as 64.5 inches, which is very impressive for how light this is. With the next angle down, or rather with the neck center column not extended, it's going to have a height of 52.4 if the legs are also extended. The max weight that you're going to want to put on top is 13 pounds, and it only weighs 3 pounds or 1.4 kilograms. Pretty impressive. The legs are going to be 26 millimeters, and you do have 4 extending sections. Remember that there is a spring hook included, and the center column converts down to a short column. You can actually take out that piece if you want to, just like I showed you in the video there. If you really don't need it and you want to get some lower to the ground shots, that's something that is easy to do. Something else a lot of people would probably appreciate to know if you've never done it before, some center columns can be taken apart so that you can bring them down a little lower. This one actually unscrews. If I can show you the inside there, there's a different thread that can go inside. Some people might actually convert this into a selfie stick. And the head, of course, does come off. If I can loosen it there, get my man hands out. And there's a 3/8 underneath. That's what the connection is. You do have a set in here if you want to set your Allen. Most people know what I'm talking about, but there is an Allen there. You can actually set tension on top of your head if you want to, and I suggest it. I think it's a good idea just to keep things in place, keep them rigid. I tend to keep the center column together. I just don't need to take those lower shots. But if you really needed to and you're concerned about the center column being too tall, that shouldn't be an issue. I think it's actually pretty easy to work on. And even if you're not very handy or skillful with tools, taking things apart, this one's not hard to work on at all. I'm gonna open up the bottom here, invert the leg, and loosen the center column. Let's do that. And this right here also threads out. There's the spring on the bottom. These accessory locations are pretty functional. I like those a lot. And if you were going to do a 1/4 inch or a 3/8, you could just take this out if you have a bigger thread, but there is a 1/4 inch on the other side. Just kind of depends what size you like to use the most. But very smart. I like having that on the center column post, the neck bracket here. That's very useful to have, and I use them all the time, whether it be for a phone, a monitor, a light, sometimes a Kestrel or a weather meter device. These make a lot of sense for outdoorsmen especially, but also camera work. I find that to be pretty useful. All right, before this storm comes in, I want to talk a little bit about actually using it with a spotter, which is something I do frequently. So outdoorsmen, pay attention, I guess, to this. Leg angles, by the way, that's something most people ask about. That's 20, 50, and 80, I believe. And so pretty traditional, something that most people can get behind, and it's going to make sense for most of the applications I can even think of. Also, considering it has a center column, there's at least something there that makes sense in the middle. Sometimes when tripod companies will produce something with a center column and they'll have a middle stage, middle angle that just doesn't work out because of the center column. You always end up lifting it. This one actually does work out really nicely on a flat surface. So again, that's 20, 50, and 80 for your leg angles. So I have my spotter here, and I'm going to adjust a little bit and tension it. Now, typically when I'm glassing, if I'm actually going to be staring at something, maybe I'm spotting for a competition, I use the little control arm up here. I don't typically grab onto the body. So I would just grab the arm like this, and then I would probably loosen up there we go. I'll loosen up the pan just a little bit too, because typically we're transitioning between targets, and I'll have just enough tension on there where I can rock it back and forth a little bit and move it around, track between what's on the field, and then lock it down. If we have a stationary target, like we had basically a KYL style, it was the triangle target at the last competition, and so I could get enough field of view with this optic at 600 yards. I just needed to be stationary, and so in a scenario like that, I would just lock down the angle, keep it right there, and just slightly move with the pan back and forth a little bit if people were off target. I do like it. I think it's a sturdy tripod. I think it's actually pretty darn affordable, especially with carbon fiber. The prices have gone incredibly low on carbon fiber, so it's probably the best time to ditch some of your old school gear, the heavy stuff, the stuff that's cold in the winter time. It's something I always get annoyed with, and get one of these nice Vanguard tripods. Comes with the hand support that's got neoprene on it, has all the accessory holders, it has the bag. There's not really anything I can even think of that I would change on this. To be honest with you, this is the perfect backpacker, hiker, spotter, videography, or film tripod for me, because it can do just about everything. Love Vanguard products. I use a lot of Vanguard spotters and glass. Obviously, this is going to work across brands. I showed you with the integral footprint from another product, and here is a Vanguard spotter. It's one that's actually in my car every single day. Maybe shouldn't advertise that too loud, but it's always in my vehicle because I always need a spotter. I end up seeing something and I want to watch maybe deer or bear from a distance. Maybe I stop by at a competition at a range and I end up spotting and helping the team. I always use this Vanguard spotter when I'm in that scenario. And if you are looking for a spotter to complement your tripod, or you need a tripod to complement your Vanguard spotter, I'm going to recommend this pair right here. This is a really nice combination. As the sun is going down, you can tell with the video it's getting very dark. The sun going down, I'm still getting a really nice bright image, and in fact I could spot my 223 holes here at 100 with the sun basically setting in the distance there. Really nice combination, very glassy smooth. I'm rambling because I like it a lot. Thanks, Vanguard. You guys, if you like this video, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and maybe watch this video if you want a spotter.